are more detrimental than others, but we all have it.
Right, I would agree with that.
Like some people are sex addicts, some people are weed addicts or whatever, but all you got to do is stop. And I know y'all gonna attack me over that, but some people like
We
kids and
ain't gonna
shit or
attack
some
you, bro.
weird shit. Some yeah, but everything is
That's a
weird to
fact.
another person. You know what I'm saying? Some people like old chicks. Some females like old dudes. Some people like women. And some, know what I'm saying? Some females like women. It's just something that's programmed in. And there's nothing you can do about it but just try to understand it. And
Bro.
Is it programmed or is it natural for them to like what they
it's
like?
probably, to me, I think it's probably both. Yeah, yeah, there we go. Because, yeah, I was looking at Disney and I had to turn that shit off because that shit got a little weird. The hell's going on here? Mm-mm.
So I just want to jump in real quick and say to Dee, you don't have to apologize for your feelings on this because everybody has their own feelings and their
Nah,
own opinions on
but
addiction.
I was
D
on some
D
comedic shit.
D
I was on some
D
comedic. Yeah, go
D.
ahead, brother.
Bro, I know you the cutoff king, my boy, but goddamn, bro, you gotta let people land, my boy.
No,
Shit,
yeah, I was just trying to
wasn't
say that.
done
No,
though,
I was
nigga.
just on some
She
comedic
wasn't
shit.
done.
Okay, man, I'll let her land, Joe. I'm sorry,
Right.
bro.
But what I'm saying is you don't have to apologize for that because you are entitled to your feelings and your thoughts and your opinions just like everybody else is. But what I will say is, in my opinion, addiction has a stigma on it, just like mental health does. And people look at somebody who struggle with addiction and they look at them in the view like what you had said earlier, that they're just pieces of shit. Or people look at somebody with mental health and they say they're using that as an excuse. There's a stigma on addiction and a stigma on mental health. And until we as people and humans can acknowledge that there are underlying reasons and that these people are actually human beings who just need help, then this kind of thing is going to continue going on. It's always going to be there.
Nah, that's a fact. I'm gonna add before you go in, D. Cause bro, I struggle with my addiction still every fucking day, bro. Like, I nigga, if I go to the gas station, bro, I still double cup my drinks. You get what I'm saying? I still make certain drinks, you feel me, just to make it purple, bro. Like, it be like little simple shit, bro, that like my wife don't pay attention to, but bro, it be like, damn, that shit still reminding me of that shit. You know what I'm saying? Coffee cups, bro. I won't drink a coffee cup unless it's double cup. You get what I'm saying? Um, I only drink like if I go instead of sodas now, I only drink like fruit juices, but it gotta be like a certain flavor. It gotta be. I gotta mix it and make it a certain color type shit. Like bro. You never gonna just niggas never just gonna I beat my addiction, bro. That's why people keep celebrating that shit, bro. You know what I'm saying? They always celebrate their recovery day or the day they went sober. You know what I'm saying? Like that shit really is important to people, bro. I feel like people don't celebrate people recovery enough in my eyes. I feel like people don't celebrate like, cause bro, that shit is a path, bro. And niggas really do be needing like teams, bro, with they certain shit. I'm gonna say certain people, cause some people is strong. I was fortunate with mine. But certain people do need a battle buddy. They do need like that support, bro. And a lot of niggas, bro, we look at them from the outside, and like a lot of family members cut them off, a lot of friends cut them off. So the only people they got is other fucking addicts. That ain't gonna never
Facts.
oh
That's
shit, bro.
true. That's true. But I do think if we
So
gonna be realistic, some people do use that shit as an excuse though, Crystal. Where they'll just, oh, I just whoop de whoop, and they doing nothing to better themselves. So you know what I'm saying? Like, I do agree that people are insympathetic. They're not being sympathetic or empathetic for people, but it is a little healthy bit of delusion that comes with people who have addiction. It already takes a lot for them to even admit they even have an addiction in the first place, let alone them doing what's necessary for them to stop the addiction. So it's kind of hard for people to kind of just be like a family member and watch people around them just destroy their lives and destroy other people's lives around them and just kind of watch it happen. So it's hard for everybody, and I think we do need to wake it up though. When people are recovering and they're successful in their recovery, and I'm with whoever said that because that's true. I think that we do need to celebrate them more to make them feel good, and they get those dopamine hits off of good things versus bad things. So, I'm with that.
I
You know, even when they relapse, I think that they need, I don't want to say they need celebration, but if they can admit that they relapse, because I remember when I was helping a friend with her, trying to be there for her with her addiction, and she had hid the fact, and I had found out anyway, because I'm smart, that she was drinking. And I said, hey, I said, why didn't you just call me and say, hey, I'm feeling like this or whatever was going on. I need to have a drink. And at the time, she was losing a really close family member. So, of course, that's going to, trigger her. But I said, why didn't you just call me? And then I said, even if you didn't feel comfortable calling, why did you feel you needed to hide it? Because I think it's that behavior right there. That's how I know that you have a problem. If you didn't think that you had a problem, I want you to realize the fact that you're a grown woman trying to hide or say, well, I didn't think I could say that. No, I know with an addiction, and I think we need to make this clear to people. I know you're not going to be perfect. I know you may relapse. Do I want you to relapse? No. But don't hide it from me because then you're working out of an addict mind, you know? So I think we need to, be there, make it known like, hey, I know you're going to probably relapse. I mean, I hope you don't. But in the event that you do, don't hide it from me, Let's acknowledge it. And I think being there for them in that way will help more addicts stop being addicts because I think they get so much pressure on them just trying to be perfect and then they're just thinking about it's like a person who's trying to work on their weight and they're not trying to eat but all they're thinking about is eating because they're trying to think about not eating. So I think we just have to give a little grace to them on both ends of the spectrum.
Absolutely, absolutely. Welcome to the room, Kelly. Welcome to the room, Matt. Bear, what up, Bear?
Hey, salute, big
What's
salute.
up, look?
What up, man? Salute.
See, I tried to. I'm a little on my story and whatnot. Not gonna go too. Oh, I could go into depth or into detail, but I tried to hide my addiction for the longest time, and my family and whatnot. They knew what I was doing. It took a minute because the effects don't happen right away, like physical and all that kind of stuff. For me, they didn't. I can't say everybody. Um, but I tried to hide it because us addicts get put into a stereotypical category that all addicts are bad or we don't deserve anything great in life or just any of that. And so I tried to hide it for the longest time, and I hit my rock bottom, and that made me realize that I needed to not I needed to think about myself because I really wasn't. um I didn't care about myself. My self-esteem, my confidence was all gone, and that happened due to the drugs. But having having that support system really helped, and my support system was not stereotypical or any of that. They came to me with open arms, even though I was doing what I was doing, and for that I'm really appreciative of.
Hey, thank you for sharing your story, Queen. That's my stepdaughter, by the way.
Definitely, thank you. Definitely, thank you
For
for
telling
sure.
your truth, real shit. Man, appreciate that.
Yeah, I just want to give a
You
shout
know,
out to Vincent and my mom. You guys are definitely big supporters and a big reason as to why I'm still clean. I actually have over 600 days clean. So
God bless it. God is good. Look at God work.
Congrats.
600
Look at God
days.
work.
That's what's up, yo.
Look at God
600.
work.
That's what's up.
and I'm just going to take a minute to give Caitlin her flowers because
Right.
it's been a journey. It's been a journey for her. And as her mom,
don't, now you got me all tearing up.
as her mom watching her go down the path that she went down, I thought that I was going to lose my daughter. I thought that I was going to get a call one day that something had happened, but I have not received that call ever, thankfully. And now, like she just said, she's got 621 days under her belt. So I'm going to give her flowers.
For sure. For sure. And thank you for
That's
sharing
one of the
that part too,
things
Chris. That was beautiful. For sure.
that's definitely one of the things that's helped me continue to stay strong is when my mom told me that every time her phone rang, she was scared that it was a call telling her that I was no longer here, and my kids were my other rock bottom. So
Yeah, that addiction is a real thing. You know, we don't like to talk about it. Some people like to keep it secret, and I get it. I understand it. If you don't talk about it, it ain't gonna help nobody either. So that's why I thank her for coming on here, sharing her story, and ask her to. Anything. You know, she wanted to do this, and I commend her for it because I think it's people that need to hear her story and stories like hers that help them through what they're going through. You know. Um, Anybody else want to chime in? Callie, yo, what up, Callie?
I think that rock bottom part is important too, to give people their grace, because everybody's rock bottom doesn't look the same, and time periods don't look the same. So there are people who take a long time to get through their addiction, and they deserve as much grace as somebody who can do it quickly.
I agree. What happened to the cutoff king? He left?
Yeah, I don't see him.
I have
Well,
a poem if you guys want to hear a short, sweet poem.
please.
Sure.
absolutely.
Okay, one moment. Okay, I found it. Can you guys hear me? Okay. Like waves. One moment. I got a phone call.
Caitlin, I was going to ask you a question. A person who's dealt with, I guess, substance abuse, do you think it's easier to take advice from someone who deals with that same thing versus someone who hasn't, in a way, whether it's we could just say any type of addiction, because some people deal, like the guy who was in here, deal with different addictions, but we don't really classify them as addictions, but they're still addictions. But when it comes to like drug and alcohol abuse and all those type of things, is it easier to take advice from someone that's dealing with it, or does it just come down to a person wanting to listen?
So for me, I'm all ears. Like I'm open to listen, to anyone, but when it comes to somebody who's been through what I've been through and they know what I've gone through and the effects that drug addiction has on a person mentally, physically, emotionally, everything in between, um, I tend to listen. I don't want to say I tend to listen to that advice more, um, but it definitely helps me a little more than someone who hasn't been through what I've been through, if that makes sense.
I like to piggyback off of that because, like, I was an alcoholic and shit, right? So, you know what I'm saying? It first started off with me because I wouldn't listen to nobody. I used to always think that it was just out to get me and I ain't had no problem. So, as I got, my goal to sobriety and stuff like that, it is easier for me to listen to somebody else that went through the same struggle. So, it's definitely easier if I hear from them than somebody that they don't really understand it.
Okay, I'm back. You guys,
Go ahead, Queen.
okay. Let me get it. Like waves, every time we crash, we sink into our oceans of love. It's short and sweet.
That was nice.
I like that.
Thank you.
Yeah. You have a longer. You have a longer one.
Can
No,
I'm sorry. I was gonna answer it. Can love be an addiction?
I think it's natural. Love is natural, right?
the the person that you love can be the addiction. I don't think love is the addiction. No.
I said something
Well,
earlier in the chat about that. Let me go find it. Cuz I think it can be so it's or no, I was saying a disease. Never mind. Love releases the same kind of things as when using drugs like euphoria and dopamine and all that kind of stuff. So personally, I think it is.
Right. Right.
Yeah,
Love can
I
also
think it
create
could be a
anger and frustration, fear. Love creates all of those emotions.
Yes.
yes, it does.
facts.
The fascination, just the fascination of a person can turn into an addiction. That can be an addiction.
Yeah, that's how you get stalkers and shit.
Speaking of that, I should put up the girl from the youth, from the youth show on my. Yeah,
You know a
that's
way you can not get over obsessed with like a new person. People must people must be a match for your boundaries and reality. That's how you keep it safe.
no. We try, and we meet somebody that we willing to compromise those boundaries for. You know. So you know how that go. It's a
I
give
want
and take
to
relationship.
yeah. I want to say like what we were talking about earlier about how if it taken advice from someone who's been there or someone who's not. So like for me, it's the same. I'm in treatment right now currently actually. And when I get my or when I get a counselor that has been through drug addiction versus someone who has gone to school to study to do the chemical dependency counseling and whatnot, I also find it a little bit easier to connect with them, the ones who have been through it as well versus the ones who have just studied in it. I don't. Do any of you guys feel the same way who have been through it?
Well, let me ask you a question. Do you think it might be beneficial to hear from someone that maybe didn't go through it but studied the other side of it? You know what I mean? To get their
Well,
perspective.
yeah, yeah.
Because just because you know what I mean, just because like because you had coaches that coach football who never played but know the game, the intricate parts of the game better than the players do. You get what I'm saying? Because they studied it from a whole different. They did it from a different standpoint. So I do think in some cases it might be just as important to hear what they have to say than the person who actually went through it, who may tell you more of their experience, that may relate to you, but may not, because they have their own experience. Somebody versus somebody who's never been through it, never doesn't know your experience personally, so they can actually receive what you're saying better and really be more in tune to understand than someone that that kind of brushes off because he's been it's similar but not all the way. You know what I mean? You get what I'm
Yeah, I
saying?
get and
Yeah,
I
the
agree.
person who studied it, they have a large knowledge base that they could pull from. You know, they got so many different examples, so many different case studies that could be very helpful in helping the person with their addiction problem. Whereas the person who has experience can only draw from experience. So I'm not saying one is better than the other, but having both is, definitely needed. I believe.
I
Yeah,
agree.
and I was gonna say, Caitlin, I think now that after I asked that question a little bit a while ago, I've been thinking. I think sometimes too, just because when we use our own experiences with things, we can confuse things. um, I remember when I was in no, what happened? Okay, my phone just did something weird. Hopefully, guys, you can still hear me. But
We can hear you. We can hear you.
sorry. But when I was in nursing school, I remember we were all in the maternity. We were doing the maternity section, and we all basically failed that section. All the women in there. And then our teacher asked us, "Did you guys take your personal experience, the women that had children, or did you like actually take what the text said?" And we were using our personal experiences. So I think sometimes we could get it confused. You know, we can confuse things, but then on the other end of that, there's a guy in here the other night who was he told a really beautiful story of basically how he wanted to have a relationship with the daughter but didn't want a relationship with the mother. And the mother basically tried to hide his daughter, and the steps that he took to get his daughter, even when things were stacked against him, even when he went back and like got things subpoenaed because he had got like valid information, and then the things that she still did, and then it went so far as he hid his daughter. I mean, she hid his daughter from him, and now she's in trouble now, the mother. But and that all of that all of that happening. Now this man is going to law school to help young men fight for their rights for their children. And I had told him, I said, I would send anyone to you hearing how hard. I mean, it made me even like me as a young girl, to see that if my dad went that hard for me, because he could have easily just given up and said, I'm not gonna deal with this, maybe in a couple of years when she's grown, I'll come back around. But no, he said, no, you're not gonna keep my daughter from me. And he took the steps, and he kept taking steps, and even more steps, and now he's about to become a lawyer so he can help young men. And I said, it's that relatable factor that's going to make you an even better lawyer, and people are going to want to be able to understand you better, and I guess basically take your advice more, and trust your opinion more because you actually went through it.
I completely agree with that. I think someone who now listening to all you guys talking stuff, someone to see, this is why I love Clubhouse, because it makes me think of other perspectives and whatnot. But someone who has been there and also has knowledge from maybe studying or whatnot from it, that's definitely beneficial.
What's all right? I'm in the back channel. Ooh, what's going on in the chat? Hey, welcome to the room, Captain. Welcome to the room. All right, my boy.
Yeah, thank you. Sorry, I forgot to change my alias name. So I've just been listening on, and I was pre-med before I went blind, and this was years ago. But in pre-med, it was all clinical. It was not the person. It was, this is the paperwork. This is the drugs. This is whatever. And when I went blind, I went through neuropathy, and I went through medication to try to help with the pain and recover from the surgery. And that's when I went through addiction. I went through Vicodin, Percocet, the traditional post-surgical medications. But then I was put on OxyContin, and a medication that I feel should be illegal, should not be in the market, and has messed up so many people's lives. But I understood the personal side of addiction in helping people that I could never learn from a textbook, from a case study, because until you understand as a person, you understand that, you shouldn't do it. You shouldn't overuse it. You shouldn't take it at all. But at least for me, it wasn't I was going on the street and buying illegal drugs. I was overusing prescribed medication. And until you understand as a person that You can be told that this is right or wrong. You know this is right or wrong. But when you are struggling to fight and your brain is already telling you, sorry, you're going to take this pill 2 hours ahead, 4 hours ahead, 6 hours ahead. You're going to take an extra pill to chase the, whether it's to chase the pain away or to chase the high. Until you understand that, I don't think as a person you understand how to treat the person going through addiction, because you don't have a full understanding of what it's like. And so that's, I didn't catch a person's name, but the woman who was talking about how, I connect better with people who've gone through it. I understand why, because being on both sides of the coin, in medical school, you're taught to have a God complex. And it's a good thing to have a God complex, because otherwise your emotions would drain you to the point where you can function. But if you don't have that connection with a patient, then and have that understanding, then you can't help them. And anyway, I'm done speaking. Just want to say hello.
Yeah, how you doing, brother? Jamar. Salute to you for your journey, but I'm gonna have to disagree with you. I'm from the bottom, and when I say that, my mother was a crackhead, a full blown crackhead, the kind you see in movies. I have some brothers and sisters that was born with defects. 2009, my mother overdosed and died off of heroin at the age of 45. April 7th was the day. I never got involved in none of that. I would never do any of those drugs. But when I was a kid, watching my mom cook cocaine, smoking in front of me, the effects that it had on me and everything, the violence and all of that. So, no, I didn't personally engage in it, but I saw the effects. And I was part of the that coin. It destroyed my family. I was 6 years old, walking around the street, 11 o'clock at night, looking for pennies or some trash on the floor ground so I could eat. We barely had lights growing up, and it's kind of it's. I'm glad people get the help that they need, but when it when this addiction thing was just a black problem, nobody gave a fuck. Excuse my language. And when I say nobody, that includes my aunts, my grandma, the way they humiliated and talked about my mother. Oh, Donna ain't shit. She this, she that. They act like it was a choice she was doing. It was a lot of pain and hurt that she was going through. Come to find out, her uncle, my great uncle, raped and molested her all through her childhood. My grandmother blamed her for it. So it was a lot of things she was running towards. But although I saw my mom do drugs, she did it around me, put me in bad situations, I still didn't know anything about it. I hated my mother because I thought she was choosing to do that. I thought she was choosing drugs over her own children. It wasn't until years later when I began to pick up books and educate myself and learn about addiction, learn how, the effects that it have on their brain and everything and on their body and the dependency that it brings and all. And I learned that, hey, this wasn't no choice behavior my mother was going through. This was something that was real. And had I had not have been ignorant, had I have had that book knowledge about the things that she was going through, I probably would have been in a position to help her. But I always pushed her away. I was a horrible son. I'm not going to sit up here and say I wasn't. I was ashamed of her. I didn't want her to be around. I mean, I live in the hood. People find out your mom a crackhead or selling her body to get that shit. Like, you're going to get teased, harassed, all of that. So yeah, definitely people who study it is very needed, brother. It is needed. And what people don't understand is that addict, they don't see themselves. They're not walking around with a mirror in their face documenting all of their behaviors and everything they do. But those people who's actually studying, who's spending their life work on trying to help people with addiction, they are. So keep don't push them away. Just be open towards them, because at the end of the day, man, it was the books that helped me understand what my mother was going through. And had I had that knowledge sooner, like I said before, she could be still alive. But I thought she was doing it on her own.
Absolutely.
As a person I feel for what you went through in life, your family, yourself, just as a person. I don't need to know who you are to feel the pain. And it's not, no, I mean, I get the idea that when it was just a black problem, same thing with AIDS. When it was just a gay problem, no one cared. But the unfortunate thing is, ignorance is, I don't know. Some people say that ignorance is bliss. Other times, it's just easier. It just, when you don't know, you don't know. And sometimes you may have it right in front of you, but you don't want to see it. I guess what I'm just trying to say is, you know, it's not just a black thing to push away people who are in your life that are screwed up, especially on drugs. But anyway, as a person, I'm sorry to hear what you went through.
Oh, yeah,
Okay.
thank you. It was I couldn't talk properly till I was 8 years old, and I always when I think about it, I blame it on the funny smoke. That's what I used to call it when my mom and her friends used to go in the kitchen to cook crack. I would go in there when they start smoking it. The smell made me feel good. It took away the hunger pains and everything. And when her best friend, Mrs. I forget her name, but she used to, like, after my mom passed out, she'll come in the room, touch on me and stuff like that. So it was a lot of things, that I was harm's way that I was put in, and it was bitter that I was very angry when. Yeah, I'm not even going to get into it. So I mean, I'm enjoying listening. Y'all go ahead.
Do you guys know the Soft White Underbelly YouTube channel? You remember Amanda, one of his biggest people on the
Yeah.
channel?
Yeah.
The work, some after watching Amanda's videos, I would have to take an ice cold shower. Like, because I'm an empath, whatever. But the work they did on her is tremendous. If she, from the state she was in to how she was peaceful when she died, natural causes, anything's possible after I've seen her story. And they helped her through structured environment. They helped her through VR goggles. And like these weren't addicts or just regular people that ran I don't know, some type of science foundation. I don't know, just a regular woman that wants to help people.
What was her name?
The addict,
Yeah.
Amanda. I don't know her last, but you'll
Oh,
see it. Soft white underbelly YouTube.
okay.
Type in that, and then Amanda. You'll see a whole bunch of videos.
All right, we'll check that out. Do anybody else want to touch in on top? Please, anybody want to chime in? Chime in.
I want to say I was scared to come to my family about needing hope and getting clean and sober and whatnot because I don't remember who was talking about it, but they were saying how people get pushed away, and that was one of my biggest fears, is that I was going to get pushed away because in my addiction I lost a lot of trust and I broke a lot of I've broken a lot of bridges, and I'm still to this day I feel, I don't know if it's what it is, but I'm just feeling like I'm still having to repair those um because I feel like I have to put in a lot of work because I did do a lot of damage to those around me that loved me while I was going through what I was going through.
Mm, mm, that's deep.
I'm gonna put you guys in your feels.
Man, we all good. We rocking. You can't pick your family, and be real. You gotta be real with yourself. Some people are here. May not be drug addicts, but we got some skeletons in our closet. So
Every
if
single one of us.
you know that
Everyone.
man, you can throw a stone, throw the stone, because we all. I'm just saying, we all got some shit. Let's be real.
Can I ask a question, Caitlin? And I don't even want to pick on you, but you've already shared your story, and you can say no, and you don't even have to share what it is. But within that recovery, did you figure out what actually caused the reason for you even wanting or allowing the drug to be an option?
So like I had said earlier that, and you probably weren't here, so I'll say it again. I had watched people like that were very close to me, go through addiction, and watching that being the person I was to said person, I wanted to know what was so fun and great about that was more important. Um, I wanted to I would see the effects that it would have on the person, and I'm like, why is that so enjoyable to them and whatnot? And so I feel like that kind of played a little part in it. And then I was actually introduced to drugs. That is by an ex-boyfriend. That is how that's when I started doing them. And then I started enjoying it. I enjoyed the effects. I enjoyed the way it made me feel. And I also know from my personal experience that mental health is a huge factor that comes into play.
Absolutely,
But
thank you.
for me, mental health came into play big.
Great. No chaser. Welcome back, Roy. Welcome back.
I'm back, y'all. My bad, y'all.
Still rocking, man. It's addiction, huh? Is it a choice? Is it a disease? Do we establish what we think it is? Is it a little bit of both?
God damn, I got another phone call, man. I'm bounced back in. Give me a minute.
Okay. All right. Did we
I'm with that
establish?
it Yeah, I'm with that it starts with a choice and then it later on does become a disease. That's me.
Okay. Sounds about right.
Is there a good drug? Is there even a such thing as a good drug?
I don't think so.
Hmm.
So, as studies have shown that addiction is genetic. If you are addicted to alcohol or whatever, there's a higher chance that your child is going to have addiction as well. And whether or not it's done, some people are even pushing the idea that if you struggle with addiction, you have a child, you should talk to your child about the addiction and what effects the cravings will have on you, and how you need to be hyper focused on, you know, whether just saying no or staying away from the situation. But yeah, like I said, I think the statistics show that it is genetic. So
I, yeah, I definitely think that to a degree because my father is an alcoholic and I didn't drink for a long time because I was really afraid of becoming him because I knew what kind of person he was and or what kind of person he was when he was on it. And then so part of me feels like yes you should and then part of me feels like you shouldn't because it rooted a lot of fear in me and so I didn't want to drink at all. I didn't want to partake in it. I don't know if that's a good or bad thing, but and then I also like started lightweight judging people for it, and I started like I wouldn't date anybody that gave me any kind of like memory or thoughts about my father.
So how do you guys feel about a relationship? say say one of you, I guess I'll go off on my relationship or past relationships and whatnot. So me and the boyfriend both using hold on, let me gather my thoughts and see where I'm trying to go with this.
Well, question the captain then. So, do you tell your children while you're addicted, or do you tell your children after you have become recovered?
Well,
Mhm.
so my experience, two things. A, I don't have children. But also B, from my understanding, so my experience was pain medication. It was for about a 2 year period of my life. I would wake up and I would take the pill, and at the end of the night, or especially at the end of the month when I had like one pill left, and it was like 4 days short, 5 days short, I would nibble on the pill. And the one thing that I've heard from other people is you're never recovered. The addiction, especially like alcoholism, you can't go through AA and then be okay. I'm treated, I'm healed, and then I can have a drink and be just fine. Because I think the reason I'm going to pick alcoholism is because I think it's something we all have seen either on TV or in person. And for an alcoholic, it is they don't understand how someone can just have one drink and walk away from the bottle. Where someone who's not an addict can't understand why someone has to drink the entire bottle. But yeah, I think so. With that being said, with the idea that you're never truly recovered, it's better to do it when you're sober. But and I point this out. My sister-in-law, she has 2 kids. She's a recovering alcoholic. She's been sober for 2 years now, and she flat out told her kids, "Listen, it wasn't something I chose necessarily. My mother was an alcoholic, my father was an alcoholic, and it's just something that became part of me, even though I didn't choose it. Stress made it easy to overdrink. And once it started, I wasn't able to recuperate from it until I finally, hit rock bottom and asked for help. And so she told her kids about it, and I wasn't privy to the conversation, but I think that's a lot better of an option than to, try to ignore it and be like, okay, well, you're on your own because either I'm ashamed of it or I'm going to hope it doesn't happen to them. But yeah, does that answer the question?
I think it also depends on age and whatnot of children, because young children, that's not really, for me, a topic that I would talk about with my kids being young. Um, and I'm clean now, clean and sober now, and so as they get older, I obviously want to educate them on it because I've been there and I don't want to see them go through that. But I think it also depends on the age of the children as well.
Did you get your thoughts together so you can ask your question?
No, I didn't. I can't like put it together, but I was kind of going on like if
Mm.
someone in a relationship or two people have used and it's similar to my situation. One person is clean and the other one's not. Is how how's that
Mm.
gonna work? Like,
That's not sustainable. My
yeah.
voice is not sustainable.
You don't think so? That means that one person is going to be influencing the other. So it's just a matter of like which one is going to be doing the influencing.
Yeah, it's just not sustainable. You know that. You know the answer to that.
Well, I mean, for my situation, for me, it was the relationship may not be the best, but it doesn't mean that that person that may be clean, is gonna start using again. Because I've got a lot, you can have so much. I've got so much time, and said other person may not. And just because they were using it didn't make me go out and use just because they were doing it. Um, but then comes the question, like, is that enabling, kind of thing?
Right, wait, but I think if you are a person that has used before, it doesn't, it's not a sound decision to be with someone who is currently using, because you know that you are still an addict. You are in the process of where it's going to be a forever thing for you, and anything can trigger it. And if you subject yourself to an environment that continually allows for those triggers, the likelihood is greater. Not that you would, but you definitely wouldn't want to put yourself in a position to relapse on, like, when you can prevent it. But if it's somebody that's never tried drugs and they are with someone who is currently a user, I won't say it's not necessarily sustainable, but I think the odds are better because there's a person who does not use and they've never used, and especially if they don't have a desire to do it.
Yeah, those are good points.
Well, I fully agree with that because I thought in clinics, when you're going through treatment, they tell you to stay away from the environment that got you in it in the first place. Get away from the friends that used it. Get away from the, you know, not just the people, but the environment. If you went down to the same, corner to, you know, get your pills, don't go near that corner anymore. So I think being around the same people increases your chance of putting yourself at risk again. But to ask the same question in a different way, in in a community of disability, the question is, do you is it good to date someone else with the same disability? Like for me, I'm blind. Do you should do you date someone else who's blind because they understand what it's like and you can build a house or build a environment where it's better for you as a blind person, or is it better to um, open up your abilities by dating someone who's not disabled?
Crickets.
That's a good question.
Mm-hmm. Stun them on that one, my man. So you stun them.
I was
I
gonna say,
think
I'm
that,
stumped.
so if I'm understanding his question correctly, he's asking, should two people who are both having the same addiction, okay, two people who are in addiction or recovering, should they be together? Is that what am I understanding correctly? Sorry, I was kind of listening but kind of not.
Yeah, so that was the original question, and my aspect was, as a person with disability, since I'm blind, should it be better to date someone who's not blind because that changes my life, or do I date someone who's blind and understands the struggles and makes things easier? Because no one understands what it's like to be blind until you are blind. No one understands what
Okay.
it's like to be addicted until you're addicted. So is that a better thing, or is it better to expand yourself by not being with someone who's in that situation?
So I think, so I personally have never struggled with addiction, but I work in addiction, and so I see it a lot. Aside from the fact that, as my daughter has shared, she is.
Matrix.
Oh my!
Babe, you in the metaverse.
Is this better?
Yeah.
It's the internet here
Much.
for some reason. So I was just saying that I personally have never struggled with addiction, but um, being somebody who works in addiction, and then my daughter, as she has shared, is in recovery. Um, I feel like I can give an opinion on it. I think that it depends. If a person, and I'm going to use addiction, if a person is in recovery and they are in a relationship with somebody who also is in recovery, if they're both at the same spot in recovery as far as wanting it and being successful because they want it, then I think that they can help each other. If two people are in it who maybe are successful but maybe not, for they're not at the same spots, how do I explain it? So one person is in recovery because that's the choice that they've made to want to live that life. They want to move down that path, but the other person is in it because it's being forced. Then that might be a different situation where it might not work, and it might be, I think, Caitlin, you said it, an enabling situation down the road. Now, with the situation with you, oh, what was his name? Captain. Um,
Yeah, I'm Justin, by the way.
Nice to meet you, Justin.
You
In your
too.
situation where you were saying, you know, would it be better for you to be with somebody who's blind or not blind? To me, I think that I it's hard to explain. So I'm gonna say it this way. So I'm in an interracial marriage, and I know that this is a different topic, but I feel like this is the best way I can explain it. I'm in an interracial marriage. So a lot of times I hear that because I'm white that I can't feel what black people feel. And that is very true. I can't feel that, but I can imagine. And so looking at the situation where you were talking with being blind, even though if you chose to be with somebody who's not blind, even though they don't completely understand, they can imagine, and so they can feel per se what you're feeling because they're listening and acknowledging and hearing and seeing what you are going through. I hope that that made sense. In my brain it did a little bit, but I don't know.
It does. Yeah, and I get it. And honestly, it is the true answer is, whether it's for addiction or anything else, it is a case by case situation, as you're pointing out.
Absolutely. Vincent says back in 5 bathroom break. Wow.
This was a good topic.
It was a good topic. I like topics like this because it brings in, it brings in different views and different opinions of people. And I like to see other people's views and thoughts on things like this.
And it brings awareness. And if there's people that are in the room that may be still struggling, still struggling with addiction, and people, who are in recovery, it can definitely help them as well. It can it can shed some light that just because you're addicted now doesn't mean that you can't ever, become sober. It's
Exactly.
possible. It's possible, and it can happen.
Exactly.
And it doesn't have to, because I know some people that think that just because you may have been addicted to drugs or alcohol or whatever it may be, that your life is forever ruined. And it's not that. You
Right.
you always can make your life better and change if you want it. Just like getting clean, you have to want it for it to happen. You can't be forced. You can't be made to do it. You can't be 1 foot in, 1 foot out. You got to be all the way in there. Otherwise, it's not going to work out.
Right. And I just want to tell you that I appreciate that you came in and shared your story, because I was reading through the chats and seeing that there were other people in our room today that they're they have struggled with addiction as well. And appreciate that you were willing to share your story, because I feel like reading the chat that you gave encouragement to some other people too. So I appreciate that.
Yeah, I mean it can be hard sometimes, but my my passion in life and what I honestly want to do is bring awareness to drug addiction, because I feel like there's such a bad stereotype put on it that people are not as open minded and are willing to listen, especially to addicts, about it. Um, a lot of people are dead set on what their thoughts are, and that's okay. Everybody is everybody is allowed to have their own opinions, views, and values and whatnot. But it still should, you should still with an open mind and be willing to listen and listen to other people's experiences and
Yeah.
whatnot. And like earlier, there was some things that were said that made me look at things from a different perspective. I was like, oh yeah, I never looked at it that way. Which is why I like to do these kind of things.
So I just want to jump in and say thank you to my stepdaughter, who like again is very new to this app. Didn't know what this app was, came to it, and she went balls to walls, both feet down, grinding, went right at it. And I love that. To my wife for moderating to help me run the room. Did everybody follow everybody that's on the stage right now?
Let me do that.
Please share everybody, follow everybody.
Done.
Definitely do that. So our room is going to always stay positive. We're going to always push real content with real conversation. This is not the Freddie Roosevelt room, but we're going to end it just like the Freddie Roosevelt room. I want to say thank you to everybody that's in this room that came and participated. I'm going to think of another topic, and we will have another room today. We probably have two more today, and we're going to keep coming with it. Thank you to everybody that's in this room. We're going to end it now so we can say the recording. It will be on YouTube. Thank you, everybody. Have a good day. Stay safe, COVID free.